Hi, everybody. It is time to start up our regular blogs and vlogs talking about functional language planning and developing our ELD programs and our collaboration between ELD and content area teachers. As many of us are already going back to school and the rest of us are enjoying those last days of summer, I think I have 2 weeks, 2 weeks to go before we return to school. I was thinking about one of the most repeated conversations that I had with teachers in the last school year. And this is for those teachers who are working in schools where the curriculum is pretty prescribed for English language arts in the content classroom, and that they include some lengthy read alouds with little visual support, right? So we're reading aloud from our teacher's manual with a picture here and there on a slide, but not the same kind of interactive read aloud like we're used to doing before this type of curriculum came about. So through talking about this with teachers along the way throughout the year, we came up with a list of some tips to make these read alouds more accessible to our multilingual learners and to our students who just have trouble focusing for that amount of time with just oral language information. So let's get into some tips that will hopefully help you help your students be more engaged during these read alouds. So tip number one, cut portions of the read aloud that are not crucial to make time for processing. Now, this is a little controversial at first, and you are welcome to establish your own opinion. But what we did find was that in these read alouds, if you first pay attention to what the goal of that read aloud is, what's the standard we're working toward? What's the outcome we're working toward? What do students need to notice and gain from this read aloud? From there, you can see which portions of the text are crucial that students listen to. So if we're going to be comparing characters, then we need to really include that character development part. If we're going to be looking at, in the end, writing about two characters or two types of businesses, and there's six in the read aloud, then maybe we can cut back on some of those to make it a little shorter. We can leave out the extra extravagant details that are above the proficiency level of our students. So there are some options there. Just make sure first that you are really clear on what the goal is for that read aloud and what students will need to do with that information before you decide to cut out any of the pieces. What we want to do in this process, because the curriculum is so jam-packed and time sensitive and so much to get done, we're trying to free up some space, trying to free up some time for processing, which leads us to tip number two. Right. We need to remember to build in that processing time. As children, multilingual learner or not, there's only so much information you can take in and attention you can give without stopping to pause and clarify and restate. So stopping every few minutes to restate and summarize. This gives an opportunity for those whose English proficiency level is a bit below where your reading level is, that they have a moment to stop and catch up. So taking the time to say, let's summarize this, right? Simplify it, hit on the big points, make sure everybody's following along, ask a few clarifying questions. One thing we found to be very effective is using a graphic organizer to model note-taking. Sometimes just an empty whiteboard and students can, like, as I'm reading, draw what you see happening, like a picture for you. Or we stop every paragraph or two and fill out a comic strip kind of thing, like draw a picture for what happened in the last few minutes. Read some more, stop again. In your second box, draw a picture of what happened in the last few minutes. If your students are more proficient with literacy, write a few words to summarize what happened in this last section, or write a sentence. Depends on where they are in their proficiency with reading and writing. Also, if you have two adults in the room, if it's a paraeducator or if we have the grade level teacher and the ELD teacher in the room at the same time during this read aloud, it's a great place for one of the two teachers to model note taking as the read aloud is happening. So off to the side with a chart paper, whiteboard, something like that, the adult could be modeling the note taking and students can be following along. Or the second adult can model the note taking during the pauses so that we have one person reading, one person modeling note taking and summarizing, just to give teachers voice. One other role that having two teachers in the room that you can alternate between the read aloud and another role is to have someone, one of the adults, who's leading those opportunities for think, pair, share, processing, and student-to-student interaction, right? We need that interaction to allow students the time to process what they're supposed to be remembering, to play with the language and start developing that background knowledge of language that they will use to talk about and write about and learn about other outcomes after. So one person, one adult, be the leader of the interaction. You plan those out and where in the read aloud, and that will help students to process as well. Providing sentence frames for that think, pair, share will give it a more academic focus. It will make better use of that time. So if I say turn to your partner and tell them what happened in this last section, you get some conversation. If I say when you turn to your partner to talk about this last section, I would like for you to say, and then give them a prompt. In this last section, I heard that such and such character is blank because blank, right? Give them some structure. The language will be better. The processing will be better. The depth of their thinking will be better. And then you can partner ELD and content teacher to decide how complex or simple those sentence frames and sentence starters, conversation starters need to be to get the most language development during this processing time. So a great opportunity for ELD content partnership here. Another tip, because we know that our beginning English speakers are having a hard time during these read alouds getting the gist in general, because it is significantly above their listening comprehension level. So another tip when you have the two adults in the room is to sit the beginning English speakers near an adult. So whether it be the content teacher or the ELD teacher, doesn't matter, but have them sit near an adult that can help them participate in that reflection and clarification at their level. Because we know when our newcomers and our beginning English speakers are partnered with more proficient students, the more proficient student does the talking, the beginner, smiles and nods and goes along, but it's really hard to get them to participate in that setting. So putting them at your feet or next to you and having the adult lead the conversation with that small group of students would be much more effective for them and an opportunity for their language development, a simpler frame, something like that. One thing we're noticing with our English proficiency annual testing is a struggle in the area of speaking. Our speaking scores have gotten stagnant. We're struggling to get those up to help move our students toward proficiency and exit from the program. So any opportunity we have to encourage students to speak more is absolutely necessary. and also necessary to, at times, give them opportunities to speak more at length about a topic. This is what they're not used to. They're used to giving short answers, one sentence, maybe, a back and forth, partner A, partner B, partner A, partner B, or answer the teacher with one sentence. We really need to give them opportunities to practice lengthier responses in speaking so that we can up that proficiency level. In order to score a level 3 or higher in speaking proficiency, you have to have a meatier response, right? Multiple sentences, right? A lengthier description, more details, more information. And we need to provide more opportunities for that. So as a challenge during these think pair shares during the read alouds, you could put a timer on it and say, partner one, you will now speak for 30 seconds about whatever it is. And use that timer and encourage them. Just keep talking, keep talking. If you have to repeat yourself, think something different, just keep talking for 30 seconds. And then over time, sometimes make it a minute, right? A minute is a long time to be talking by yourself with no input from someone else. But this is the stamina we need to increase the confidence and increase that ability to think of more to say. So when it comes time for assessment, our students are used to doing this, and they do have discourse in their speaking. One way you can also do this is doing a retell or summarizing or answering a prompt using a voice recording app, right? Something that allows them to record their response. They can time it. You can keep track of how long they spoke. You can use a speaking rubric to score it and get ideas for how to work with your student and give them feedback and where they need development and instruction to make those responses meatier and a higher level of English proficiency. So I hope those tips are helpful, some things to think about as you get into your read-alouds this year. Even our traditional read-alouds, all of these strategies work really well with them as well. These are all things we talk about when we talk about functional language planning and the language that our students need to function and participate and engage day to day in instruction. So thanks for listening. I hope it was helpful. Feel free to reply and share your suggestions that we can put in a future blog, or just try something out and let me know how it goes. Have a great week.